Welcome back to another episode of the Emotional Mastery Podcast. It is late and I was not going to record this tonight, but I've been feeling inspired all day and I've been wanting to come and sit and talk because as this comes out, it will be June 1st. And honestly, May has been the most magical month I've had in a long time. And the last few days, I've been feeling this momentum. I've been feeling the shift. And also simultaneously, I've been feeling this what if it stops? Or what if I can't keep this going? Sort of limiting mindset. These subconscious beliefs, these subconscious blocks that are sort of creeping their way up, the ego or whatever it is that wants to force its way forward and keep me small because that's where I've so often felt comfortable in my life. And all the things that I've learned over the last, 6 years really of my journey, but honestly, since 2023 has been quantum leaps, massive jumps from where I was to where I am. I know I probably say it every year. I'm not the same person I was last year, but honestly, the last 8 months have been wild in the most beautiful way. And I've noticed, especially, I think the reason why May has been so magical is all the other pieces have sort of been falling into place. I've been sort of getting the mindset under control, I've been getting the emotions under control. And May was sort of when it all clicked together and the abundance, material, money piece has sort of been clicking in. And I've wanted to talk about manifestation for a long time, but never really felt that I was qualified. And I'm air quoting if you're watching it on YouTube, air quoting qualified to really talk about manifestation. But the truth is, we're all manifesting all the time, right? We hear that all the time. We're always manifesting. We're always manifesting from our subconscious. And it's very true. What we believe, what we subconsciously believe is literally running the show. So there are a lot of tools that I've been using that have been really helpful in this journey and in this process. I journal every single morning, rain or shine, without fail. Even if I just write gratitude, I get up and I journal something because it allows me to really sort of start my day in my body. And I think this is a very, very important piece. This week in the Holistic Human Design Academy, we are talking all about the body. And I could not have a program where we did not talk about the body. And especially as we move through human design, human design talks about, type, strategy, and authority. It talks about your ego. It talks about it talks about all of these things, right? The gates, energetics, frequency. It's just beautiful. It's literally like life. And your unique expression of self in front of you that you can see. And a huge part of that is the body, right? They talk about this illusion of separateness, right? We have the ego and we have the body, the personality in the body, and they feel very separate because the ego and the mind is always sort of fighting back on the body. It really can't get a huge grasp on it because the body's just doing what the body's doing. It's running on autopilot. It's sort of doing what it's naturally designed to do. And then you have the ego and the mind that comes in and wants to control things, and it sees things from a certain perspective and it wants to run the show, but it's not how it works. And there's so much of this subconscious work, and a lot of our trauma and our emotions are all stored in our body, and so they manifest in all these different ways. And this is the Emotional Mastery Podcast. I talk about emotions all the time. That is one of my core themes. Even when it comes to human design, I really focus on the solar plexus. I think it is a huge area. And I've studied gut health, and gut health literally is like 90% of all dis-ease and illness is related to the gut. And the solar plexus, the chakra, is correlated to the gut. And so it just makes sense, right? That our gut, the health of our gut and our emotions are so linked, right? And we thought that, our mental state, it really interesting dynamic and duality. Our mind is very powerful. It is a tool for us to use. It is a beautiful tool and it is a very powerful tool because our thoughts literally create our reality. And so can you find your subconscious thoughts that are just literally running the show. 97% of everything we do is from the subconscious. Only 3% are we consciously aware of. And so it really takes practice to sort of rewire that subconscious. I mean, we have so many subconscious beliefs from childhood, from, you know, our subconscious is written through repetition and emotion. And emotion always trumps repetition. What does that mean? It means if you have a traumatic event and you have in this, your emotions all over the place, whatever traumatic event, whatever those emotions are tied to, is going to be what your subconscious believes based on that event. So then anytime you feel that emotion or anytime you feel those thoughts that were tied to that event, the beliefs tied to that event are going to become your subconscious beliefs. And so I really believe we're all so unique, right? There are so many tools out there that can support us in this process. And I feel like To Be Magnetic really started the journey for me. I've been doing it for years. I usually fall asleep during meditations, generally, whether it's that or something else, because I usually meditate at night. And that's sort of the time where I'm just like ready to get knocked out and to go to bed. But, you know, To Be Magnetic, Lacey Phillips really talks about this rewiring our subconscious, right? That's how we can manifest. We're manifesting from our subconscious. We're manifesting from what we believe to be true. Then there's a law of attraction. You attract what you believe, what your words are, what your thoughts are. And I think that it can go in extreme ways, I guess. And I've been going through MBA, and one thing that's taught in there is that, you know, even if you feel like shit, you can still manifest, right? And I think so many times we're like afraid to have those thoughts. We're afraid, and I think it's the key is like facing them and seeing them so that they can lose their weight, right? I have learned in my own practice to really question my thoughts and the way I operate and the way I move through things. I see everything as a reflection of myself, right? So anybody that triggers me or anybody that irritates me, I'm like, okay, first of all, what they're saying, how they're acting is a reflection of them, and I can leave that over there, which allows me not to take it personally, right? It allows me to distance myself emotionally so I'm not taking on their shit and they can keep it. And then the second piece of that is then reflecting, well, why am I getting triggered by this? Why is this activating me? So what am I making this mean about me? And that's easier to do when we're not taking it personally. Now, of course, the closer the person is to you, the more emotionally triggered you're going to be and the more emotional ties you're going to have to that thing, which is where these tools of self-regulation come in, right? Coming back and being able to neutralize yourself and being able to be like, okay, let me reduce the emotional charge a little bit. Let me come back to myself a little bit more so that I can actually reflect on why that was so upsetting to me. What was that saying about me, right? If somebody's constantly trying to control you and tell you how to run your day and you're just like, "Oh my god, leave me alone," or whatever it is, right? Understand that that person trying to control you, person trying to tell you what to do is their own insecurities with themselves. And then something that James Wedmore said this week in a podcast, and this was literally the example that came to my mind. Can you replace, so that phrase, she's always trying to control me, right? Let's just, for this argument, for this example, we're going to use that. She's always trying to control me. Can you take out the she and put I, like I'm always trying to control? And it's really interesting because a lot of times, well, for this specific one, I'm like, no, I don't try and control. But then, even when I think about people pleasing, is that not what I'm doing? Trying to control other people's emotions to make it easier for me, right? And so, really reflecting on, okay, I'm triggered by this situation, and that again, leave that person there. This is their insecurities, this is their projections, and I fully understand that. I'm not going to take it personally. Neutralize my emotions so that I'm not overly emotional about it, because, of course, the closer the person is to you, the more emotionally charged you're going to be. Then see what it means about me, right? Replace that, find that sentence, replace it. That was something, again, I just learned, like heard in that way, in that phrasing from James Wedmore. And I was like, whoa. And then really questioning it, right? Like, what am I making that mean about me? If it's not that I'm controlling, right? I think that's a really good reframe, and then to see if that does apply. But then also, what am I making that mean about me? So that person wants to control me. I'm feeling triggered by that. Let me calm myself down. What am I making that situation mean about me? Well, I'm making that mean that I am incapable. It makes me feel disempowered. It makes me feel less than. Okay. So now we've come down to that like wounding, right? I feel incapable. That person controlling the situation, telling me what I have to do, telling me what I haven't done, makes me feel like I'm not worthy, makes me feel like I'm incapable, makes me feel like I'm going to be abandoned, rejected, whatever that is for you. Okay, now we've gotten to the wound. We figured it out. Is that phrase, is that core wounding an empowered thought, right? Is that coming from my higher self? No, it's not. When I really sit and think about it, is my higher self sitting here going, Rochelle, you are so incapable today. You can't do that. What would make you think that? This person's got to tell you what to do because you're not capable of doing that. Is that something my higher self would actually say to me? Absolutely not. My higher self is saying, breathe. You got this. You have no idea how fucking powerful you are, right? You are so worthy. You're so capable of doing this yourself. So let's lessen that charge and move forward, right? Anything that triggers you is showing you something about yourself, right? Because if it didn't bother me, if there was no core, if there was no limiting belief attached to it, I wouldn't get triggered. And so that's been a huge reframe for me over the last, I'm going to say 8 months, because literally I'm marking my journey now from the day I quit drinking, the day I gifted myself with sobriety. Literally love that saying, because I have quantum leaped since then. Like it's wild. Like I keep thinking about it and I'm like, damn, like there have been times where I have been in all honesty and all transparency since my birthday actually. I went to Austin on my birthday and we went out for dinner on my birthday night, and it was a really nice restaurant. Oh my gosh, it was so good. The food was delicious. And I would be lying if I said I didn't want to drink. I did. I wanted to have a glass of wine. I wanted to enjoy it with my friend and be social. And right there, right? Right there, that limiting belief that I have is that if I'm not drinking, I can't be social. And I noticed it again today. There was these two women that were sitting there and they were sharing a bottle of wine and they were sitting for hours and talking. And I remember doing that, right? And I had a moment where I was like, "Ooh, I really miss that. Really miss hanging out with somebody and just having wine on a patio." And I had a question, what is it that I miss? I miss the connection. I miss being social. And I'm attaching that to the alcohol when it doesn't need to be attached to the alcohol. Now, because I've been working really hard lately, I've been working a lot. I have had my to-do list has like, it's from here to the floor. I'm constantly having something to do. So my social life has gone like just out the door. My social life has gone out the door. And I'm really like hyper focused and I'm loving it. Like don't get me wrong, I am loving it. Like I'm feeling so lit up. It doesn't feel like work. I'm a little bit tired, to be expected, but I really, really, really am loving what I'm doing right now. However, that deep connection is what I'm craving. And there's something in my mind that's still saying I can't be social and I can't have fun without alcohol. And so I have to really rephrase that in my mind, right? Like, what am I making that mean about me? Well, I'm making it mean that I'm boring without alcohol. I can't make deep connections without alcohol, right? And then I have to ask myself, do I know that to be true? Like, is that true? No. I connect with people all the time. When I went out with my friend on my birthday, we spent the whole night connecting over human design and astrology and personal development and health. And I mean, we spent the whole time just having these beautiful, deep conversations where I walked away after that week and I was like, wow, my mind was expanded in so many ways. But where's the disconnect between that and alcohol? Alcohol, actually, we probably wouldn't have had those conversations, right? We would have, I don't know what we would have done, but it would have been so different. And so then also, from the higher self perspective, is my higher self over there going, you know what? Since you didn't drink that night, that wasn't real connection. That wasn't being social. No, my higher self is like, look at you go. Like, look what you gained from that week. And so I'm literally applying this to everything. And so even, today is a perfect example. I've been on this momentum and I've been on this like, oh, it's just been so beautiful and so magical and so many things are clicking into place. And it's just the engagement with you guys and the community and holistic human design and the Healy business and community has just been literally magical. Like I'm just like riding this momentum and I'm riding this wave and it's just like feels, oh my gosh, like it feels so good. And then I have a moment today where I'm sort of moving through my day and I'm like, okay, when's it going to stop? Right? Like, when's it going to get taken away from me? When am I going to fail? Right? And it's those limiting beliefs that it's like that. I think it's the book called The Big Leap. Right. And it's like you have this like limit. And so how can you push through that limit? How can you push through that and come out the other side and like, and so I'm really using these reframes and these tools, EFT tapping, meditation, breath work. Oh my gosh. I did a breath work session no, not last night, the night before. And I had not done a breath work session since the new moon of April's new moon, that second new moon in April. And I did that breath work session and that weekend was like I was launched into this emotional low where I was just like, I had not felt that low. That is the lowest I felt in the last 8 months. And I was just, oh my gosh, it was so painful. It was just like I realized that I used to live there and but it gave me contrast. Like now I can see that it gave me contrast. Where in the moment I was like, is this ever going to end? Right. And that's what it feels like. And so I was a little hesitant to do the breath work the other night because I was like, I don't want to go back to that place. I don't want to go back to that place. But again, like having the tools to sort of like, and I think that really showed me, I talk all the time about trusting your body. And my body was telling me something, right? We're always receiving messages from our body, and yet we allow our mind to tell us that we're wrong, right? It's like my body was screaming something at me. And my mind was like, no, you're just being silly or whatever it is, right? Obviously, but it's like noticing the thoughts that you have on loop in times like that and just being able to come into your body. And that's where these practices are so amazing because it's like if you have these practices when you're in a neutral state and you have them as part of your routine, it's so much easier to tap into them when you're feeling like shit. It's so much harder to tap into them when you don't have them as part of your practice. And then you're just trying to pull them all out and whatever, right? So having those as part of your like daily routine, those tools, again, like EFT tapping, meditation, breath work, movement, moving your body. Emotions are energy in motion. And so when we move our body, whatever it is, like today I wanted to get up and I wanted to go to the gym and I didn't. I had like so many things to do, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do at least 30 minutes of yoga. I just wanted to move my body and like feel my muscles and whatever, right? And have that like in my mind, it was just like watching my muscles work and watching them get stronger and just like the practice of moving made me feel good. But I've really been getting into that practice of just questioning everything in the sense of like today where I'm having that moment, that like upper limit moment where I'm like, oh, like this is going to end, or like, what if it stops? And what if nobody now wants to talk to me? Or like, what if nobody wants to enroll in the next round of holistic human design? Like a program that literally lights me up so much. Right. And I'm having to tell myself like, Rochelle, is this your higher self speaking to you? No, this is the ego. This is the mind. This is all those limiting beliefs that are just like freaked out that I'm up leveling. And knowing also that being emotionally defined, I will wake up tomorrow in a certain mood and I will wake up the next day in a different mood and so on and so forth. But really coming back to that space and just like constantly reminding myself like, okay, I know I'm thinking these things and that's okay. I can think these things and I can have these feelings and it doesn't mean that I'm like slamming the brakes on my momentum. It does not mean that. And also what's been really powerful is through all of this, every time I like put a goal out there, I'm just releasing the need to know how, right? Like if I'm whatever it is, like I don't need to, and that's what's also been the beautiful thing over the last month. Like I didn't need to know the how. It just beautifully magically appeared. And it was amazing and incredible and it continues to be. I don't have to know all the hows. And so really remembering that. And I think I was really hyper focused too before on like the numbers and the dates and all these things. And it's funny that when I finally released that and just set an intention that had nothing to do with by June 1st, I'm going to do this. Cause then I feel like when I say like by this date, this is going to happen, there's that part in the back of my mind is like, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not, no, it's not. Right. That's that limiting belief. That is not my higher self. It's just something in my mind, that limiting belief that tells me I can't do it. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm incapable, like whatever it is. And once I released that and just gave it up to the universe, and I said, in the most magically aligned way, this will happen. And it started moving. I don't know. It was just beautiful. And so, yeah, with all of that combined, May has just been magical. June is going to continue the magic. And of course, we're in Gemini season now. So, of course, trying new things, trying experimenting, moving through things. Gemini is very quick energy. It's very curious, intellectual. You know what the opposite is Sagittarius. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So Sagittarius is super positive, right? It's optimistic. It's the philosopher, it's the teacher, right? So where Gemini, so our full moon in Sagittarius is going to be Saturday. This comes out on Thursday, so it's Saturday. So where Gemini wants to learn, Sagittarius wants to teach, right? So every axis has lessons for us, right? So this full moon in Sagittarius is going to be, I mean, it's going to, full moons are about releasing. So what's not serving you when it comes to teaching and learning in religion and spirituality and traveling, right? And then having that play of Gemini because it's opposite, right? Gemini is also it's quick. It's a little bit more of an immature energy, right? Where Sagittarius is higher learning, higher mind, right? Gemini is learning and it's growing and it's questioning and it's fact finding and it's focused more on the details whereas Sagittarius is focused on the higher perspective, right? And Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So notice where Jupiter is in your chart. I have Jupiter in Pisces. So for me, expanding on all things spiritual really brings me into alignment, really brings that optimism, and really, it literally just expands me, right? Being able to be tapped in. And so these are sort of things that you can play with, during this full moon. Like, what are you releasing? Are you, as it relates to that, moving through it, checking Jupiter, checking Sag, checking Gemini, seeing where everything is in your chart and what it looks like and what planets are there. And I've really, really been kind of switching up the way that I'm using my Healy. I'm running a Meridians program, I'm running a chakra program, and then the Abundance Creation, which is like my absolute favorite program right now. So I'm running those 3 daily. And then, of course, my coaching intention. And it was actually really beautiful. I had a Healy specific call within the Holistic Human Design Academy last week. And so I was getting everyone that wanted to set up in the coaching app, and we were setting intentions. We were moving through this beautiful journaling practice, setting intentions, getting them set in. And one of the students asked me if when you're using the coaching app, if I'm receiving some of the frequencies that are being sent out. And I loved this question because every single time I send frequencies out on a client, I feel my heart space being activated. I feel it just like expanding because it's like I'm holding space and I'm allowing these frequencies to send out healing. I'm allowing this device to send out allowing this device to send out healing frequencies. And so, of course, being the like the device is sending it out, but it's like I'm not the channel, but the conduit, sort of, right? And so I do feel this. And so we did an aura scan because I was showing them how to use it, and you can do an aura scan in there. And I think my sacral was a little bit low energy, but my heart was so high. It was like out of like 100, my heart was like 97 out of 100. And I was like, of course, like literally what I was just talking about. Like I feel so expanded when I use the Healy. And that one time when I was so in an emotional low, like I used the emotional well-being, and the next day I was starting to feel better and I was starting to find movement. I was starting to find myself again. And this has been, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it, but this has been one of the also biggest tools that I've found in the last 8 months. And it's not just this device that is so beautiful and so powerful and just so, it's just incredible. but it's the community behind it, right? It's the community and the way they support each other and lift each other up, and all of the calls that we have that are so centered around healing and frequency, of course, but it's like it's trying to make us all better humans. And I remember when I first started my journey way back, I say way back as if it was like 25 years ago, but like 6 years ago when I started my journey, I actually started it in network marketing. And it was the most uncomfortable thing. Like, I literally was like, I'm never doing this again. This is so uncomfortable. People get mad at me. And then we were like, it was like telling us to like sell it to our family and our friends. And I did not like the whole process. But the one thing that I look back on, it really launched me into my personal development journey, because it's like you have to have a confidence and a belief in yourself. And that's where my entire journey began, was in network marketing. And it's so funny that it's sort of taken this whole like 360 thing right now, being like Healy. And that was one of the hesitations too in the beginning. Like, I loved the device and I loved who learned it from, and I trusted. And of course, like, my body was in a full on yes to Healy, and I waited my wave, and I still was a full on yes. And I knew it was in, and I knew I wanted community. Like, 2023 for me was the year I was going to be in community. My Chiron is in Gemini in the 11th house. And so my soul tribe, community, friendships, I've always had some sort of wounding around that. So I was like, this is the year I'm really going to be doing some healing on that. And so I knew the community behind it was really my driving force. Again, I've believed so much in the product, but it was really the community. And it's just been this like, it's felt so different than it did before, right? Where it was like, I felt before like cold calling and cold DMing and all those like bleh words, right? And it's just, I'm in such a different place in my journey now too, but it's this shift where I'm like, I'm sharing my journey. I have so much belief in this product, and I'm just sharing what I'm experiencing and nothing more than that, right? I'm not selling, right? I'm sharing, because if nobody buys, I'm still getting so much value out of this, right? I'm getting so much value out of healing myself, and like, and through this community I'm healing. And it just, in so many ways, it's just so beautiful and so powerful. And so I'm so grateful. And again, like, I just literally feel like May has been magical May. And yeah, it's been incredible. And this Holistic Human Design Academy is lighting me up like I can't even explain. It's yeah, it's amazing. We're in module 2, week 3, and it's just I wake up every morning and I'm excited, right? To see where people are at in the program, to listen to the questions. Every call we have these questions, I'm just like, oh, like, and I'm like relaunched into my passion for all of it too, right? I'm like reignited all of that, and it's been so beautiful. And just being able to share like everything in my journey, and like, I know teaching is my path. It feels so aligned and it feels so right. And so that's what I'm holding on to, right? And it's funny, when it comes to money and manifestation, we all want to manifest money, right? We all want abundance. We all want however much you want in your bank account. And when you really think about it, like, really pulling that down is like, what is the feeling? And every day now when I go to bed and I'm in when I think about the money, it's just the feeling. And I feel like I'm walking through the day with the feeling now. And that in itself is beautiful. And that's what I've been chasing. It's just feeling satisfied and happy and like in love with myself and with what I'm doing and all of that stuff. And like, I'm air quoting, I don't need all of the other things, right? Whereas before, because I didn't have that feeling inside, I was chasing the relationship and I was chasing the money and I was chasing the career and I was chasing this and that and other thing and drinking and all these things. And now I just feel like I have that feeling, right? And it's like consistently there. And it's not to say I don't have limiting beliefs. Like, literally, like I said today, I was sort of moving through my day and I was just like a little bit frustrated and sort of like thinking like, well, what if it stops, right? Like, what if this is it? And then I just go back, right? And it's bullshit. This isn't it, because this feels too good, right? This feels so right and so aligned, and there's not like the resistance. So that's what's been on my heart. Um yeah, this was been on my heart over the last few days. And again, magical May. It really was beautiful. Um, so yeah, Holistic Human Design Academy will be opening for the next round at the end of August. So down in the show notes, there will be a link. If you want to get on the wait list for it, you can click it. We are moving through human design. We're moving through astrology. We're moving through the body, the solar plexus, the spleen, more in depth with that. We're moving through the energetics and frequency. We're moving through subconscious reprogramming, emotional regulation. All these tools are so important in rewiring that subconscious, because if you can't emotionally regulate, it's so hard to move through that and attach that. And within that, we're talking about attachment styles, because attachment styles is so huge and so powerful. Just understanding your attachment style, and we're weaving it in with human design. And then we're moving through the gene keys, the activation sequence, the Venus sequence, the Pearl sequence. So you can really, we're really going through layers of your design. And the feedback so far has been incredible. I mean, students are saying they have not been lit up by a program like this before. I mean, it's just been, again, like I can't explain how much this is lighting me the fuck up, because it really has. And these humans, these women in here are just like magic. And so, yeah, it's been absolutely beautiful. So that's going on. Again, you can get on the wait list. The new round starts end of August. So you can get on the wait list in the show notes. One-on-one human design sessions are available, and coaching container is also available. All the information you need is down in the show notes. If this episode resonates with you, please share with a friend. It is so helpful for the podcast. If you rate, review, subscribe as well, if you feel called to that. Spotify, literally, you just have to click that 5-star. You don't have to type anything in there. You just click that button, and you are supporting the show. And I thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon.